supply chain, consulting, warehouse operations, market share, revenue, material handling, digital transportation.
It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week. It's the end of the week.
JM, it's the end of the week,
Isn't it?
and of course, Jeremy,
Yeah, I know.
no respect for calendars. So all of
Right.
this is slammed, meeting after meeting after meeting. You've been busy all day, I've been busy all day.
And then.
So we have no time to get into a Zen mode and present what is a very important topic.
So I would suggest we just catch your breath and then dig into it right away. You want to go?
Well, also, let's all acknowledge it's your birthday.
It is my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Well, thank you very
Everyone
much.
was asking me, do you know how old JN is?
Yeah. I mean, it's a milestone.
It's
it kind of
the
is.
same age for the last 10 years, 35.
33.
33, okay. So you are here
Yes. To do a sequel on
to
our
do a
last conversation.
follow-up
Yes.
because there was such an outpouring of curiosity and questions and things people wanted to know a little bit more about this whole cloud technology
Yes.
discussion. We're not going to cover everything in this meeting.
No, I think we've made the decision we're doing a series now.
Well, because it's really important.
Yes, and because I love
And it touches on a lot of things. And like I said, because I had to rush here,
Yes.
I have to just remember what we chose a few topics we'd like to
Yeah,
cover.
so we received a lot of questions.
Yes.
And we bundled them into topics.
Yep.
Yeah, and we're gonna tackle these topics as we make a few series,
There we go.
a few podcasts or along that series. So I think we picked.
No,
Oh well, no, it's your show.
I get to interview you. So
yeah,
that's part of the
that's the
fun
hardest
of it.
thing. Yeah.
All right, so the first thing we want to talk about, there were a
Yes.
lot of questions about cloud providers.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And let me frame it this way. So we know that there are two giants.
3 giants.
Who's the third?
All right. Well, frame your question first, because you're the interviewer, and
Right.
then I'll
so
answer.
as the ignoramus, the guy on the street, I know that there are two giants.
Yes.
There's Amazon and AWS.
Okay.
Very interesting, right? With the antitrust court case right now,
Mm-hmm.
will AWS be forced to be spun off? Interesting. And then there's Microsoft's Azure cloud. You just said, well, there are 3 giants.
Yes.
To me, I've never heard of a third person being brought up.
Really?
I'm
that's
gonna
okay.
get. You know what? If you said, guess who it is, I bet. Okay, can I guess?
Well, I was about to ask you to guess.
Okay.
You've started with giant, so that should be your clue.
Oracle.
No.
Oh.
Actually.
Who's the third giant?
Well, the third giant's Google.
Oh, of course. How dumb of me.
No, that's fine. So you
but
really
wait
have...
a second. That's interesting because in all the discussions, when it comes to business applications put on the cloud, and I mean business applications for our client base, supply chain, 24/7 operation, I've never heard of anyone saying let's do it in the Google Cloud. That could be just I haven't had enough conversations.
Right. I mean, I'll name one really close to you that runs on GCP.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Automatic is built within the Google Cloud platform.
Why did you choose the Google Cloud?
That's
This is the theme.
Yeah, this is the theme.
Why am I choosing between Azure, AWS, and now Google Cloud? Well, what are the features that make someone decide?
Yeah, there's a lot of intricacies.
Isn't a cloud a cloud a cloud?
Ultimately, they are similar in terms of what they offer, and you could break the categories of pros and cons into technical and commercial.
All right, let's attack that separately then.
Yeah. So the first step into that is, as you think about considering cloud platforms, like what does it mean to consider a cloud platform first, right? So it is decentralizing, as we said, either the hosting of a single piece of software or your complete infrastructure. All right. So then you have the option to go to one of the big three. Big three. The first one being AWS, which is Amazon Web Services. Microsoft is Azure, and then Google is GCP for Google Cloud Platform. Right. So that's, you'll hear the acronyms more than you will the motherships or the name of the bigger company behind them. So then, as you go and consider, ask yourself, why should I go for one or the other? It will highly be highly influenced on who you are as an organization. All right. So we're lucky enough to be close to two businesses, one being Lid and the other being Automattic, having two very distinct needs and realities. If we think of Automattic as a software editor and a solution provider, it's got needs that are quite different to what Lid as a
software user.
As a software user,
yep.
And as an organization that is providing a service as. So these are the first set of criteria that you think of is like, wait a minute, like, who am I and what are my needs? So if we think about it from a software editor perspective, you're going to look at technology that you can partner with to resell your product, right? Because if you are buying SaaS software from any of the large suppliers out there, it's highly likely that they're coming with an infrastructure that is not theirs. You brought up the fact that you only knew about AWS and Azure. One of the reasons you pick AWS as a software editor is because they've been around the longest and they are the biggest as well. So in the wide range of criteria in terms of worldwide deployment, availability, the type of technology for databases, all sorts of technical components, they just are the most advanced.
I mean, I got more servers in more locations. Number one reason, or not number one, but that's
a big portion of it. And if you
do you have an idea of how much in that very crude sense of more data centers, more servers, more locations across the planet, AWS versus Azure versus Google Cloud?
Off the top of my head, I wouldn't know. What I know is in terms of revenue.
Should I Google it?
You could Google it.
I bet Google's going to say Google Cloud is the biggest.
But I know in terms of revenue, in terms of size, the market shares, in terms of overall platform.
I'll Google it later.
You could give half to AWS, and then the other ones would share about a quarter. Like
you think Google is equal to Azure?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Cool.
No. Right. But these are just facts. Like these are.
I'm not disputing.
No, but it's just because and there's a lot of components that are part of a cloud offering, right? And a lot of things are built on Google Cloud platforms, like and I mean, the amount of people that use Google applications on their phone. That's
sure, yeah.
If you think about that, like that's ultimately there's a lot of map apps that are just connected to Google Maps and like, but these are part of the reality of what you're considering, or the position you're coming from to consider which one you're going to be building on. Right?
Okay. However, let's take a client.
Yes.
Right. So a client's putting in a WMS.
Right.
They want a cloud solution.
Yes.
Then they go to you. They say, JM, AWS, Google Cloud, or Azure.
Right.
Why and which and why?
Okay. Which one is your WMS supplier coming with?
First question.
Right, because it's highly unlikely that they will come to you with an option. They will say, we run on this. Otherwise, it's impossible for them to properly price the solution to you. It's impossible for them to commit to all sorts of legal obligations that they can without coming to you with a partner that's identified.
Okay, I get it, and now you've opened up a whole bunch of interesting questions.
Yeah.
But my first question is then, here's a dumb question, and then we're gonna revert back to automatic question. Okay.
Yeah.
So the dumb question is, okay, so me as a user of software,
Yeah.
you're saying, hey, I go in, I'm gonna host my application of this software in the cloud that the software is natively built, right?
Yes.
And so that I could have a WMS in Azure and a TMS in AWS.
Absolutely.
And really, you don't care
As
the user.
No, absolutely. For our audience that's seeking logistic applications, that ultimately you don't care technically, as long as all of these platforms can exchange information in a technology that's not going to create technical debt for you. You don't care about it. The one thing you want to pay attention to is, do they meet your business's security requirements, and security applies to data, applies to personal information. Well, yeah, and data is personal information, transactions, blah 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 blah.
I don't think we're going to cover more than this question in this
Well,
podcast,
then that's
and I'll
perfect.
tell you why. A lot of, again, back to Charles Fallon, who I don't know how to make the printer print.
Oh, well,
I really
one,
don't.
No one does.
Everybody
Everybody
says,
eternal challenge.
have you installed the drivers? It drives me nuts. How is it that every computer needs a driver to make a printer run?
The printers
Makes no sense. Super expensive machine. You should take universally where you should recognize the file as coming from something and be able to print it. But I can't even get it to print. It keeps telling me the paper tray's empty. It's not. I see it physically not empty. I want to tell it. I see it. Look, your sensor's wrong. Anyway, so technical debt is a term you just used in describing it. Let me rephrase. You said, as long as it isn't creating a technical debt, then you don't care.
Yeah.
From the user, from the CIO's perspective of what the hell does technical debt mean for all of us who need to know these things?
Ultimately, is adopting a piece of technology that is already outdated or about to be replaced, like you've installed a technology on the cloud, but it's really not web native, meaning it's not built to leverage all the technologies of the cloud. It's just a decentralized a decentralized server. It's not actually leveraging all of the other components that we will likely dig deeper into. So then all you did is move an infrastructure elsewhere, and the piece of software that's decentralized is actually sending what we call flat files. So still using, let's say, an FTP protocol to exchange information with your WMS.
We have a very exciting podcast coming up on
go.
integration.
Yeah,
with
you
Sabina,
see,
so that's great.
But that's my point. So I'm portraying an extreme scenario, but that I still encounter. There are pieces of technology that are just fake cloud.
Fake in the cloud.
Yeah,
and so technical debt is a generic, like you could apply it in many is a piece of technology that you have in your application park, in your suite of solutions, that kind of holds you back, right? It's something that's
Yeah, it's like you know how I'm into cars and whatnot. Well, I'm gonna say it's as if you're buying a diesel car in 2023. You're kind of on the verge of having to replace something you just bought.
right.
So that's pretty much what technical debt is.
That makes sense to me.
It applies to.
That makes sense. Okay, so back to this. So I get it. I don't. As long as I'm not getting any kind of technical debt issue going on, I don't care. I'm CIO of Jerry distributors. I don't care
Technically, about the technical component.
for technical.
Yeah.
Now, what's the business things I have to? The commercial.
business and legal components, right? And, or protection.
Okay, now that's an important question. So now, you're a software provider. You come with your platform.
Yes.
I'm signing an agreement with you and separately for the cloud services, or is it all through the software?
Usually, the large WMS players, because that's a lot of what
Yeah.
we do, have the not authority, but the right to represent the cloud provider, and or are going to use the cloud provider's terms to in their contract to you as the CEO of Distribution Business X. So you are most likely going to contract only with your WMS.
One
provider.
contract, but both the software and the cloud
Is in-
services. Yeah,
included in there.
got it. So now go back to this, the commercial
Yes.
implications.
Yeah. So the commercial implications are quite interesting.
Well, I'll judge that.
Yeah.
But for you,
Well, no.
they're interesting.
Well, well, most of what I say is interesting, regardless. The point there is, and I've encountered quite a bit of it. You are dealing with gigantic organizations that may actually have interests, the big three we've mentioned, that aren't aligned with that specific distributor's business. If we think of
I think I know where you're going. Okay.
well, you think of Amazon,
Yeah.
right? And you think of an e-commerce business that's
Yep.
trying to compete.
Yep.
Well, maybe that e-commerce business doesn't want to send a ton of money
very
to
much annoys them
that.
that they are Amazon's profiting off their e-commerce business indirectly.
That's first, and
100%.
then the other piece is you have an extremely high volume of critical business information that is ultimately transacting through a third party, a third party's infrastructure. So I mean, the contracts are critical.
Right. I mean, there are all sorts of, let's say, nominal legal protections.
Correct. That you need to
But
put
you
in place.
still, if you are that retailer, do you really want your data running through Amazon circuits?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're
But
pitching,
not that we know Amazon would never do anything.
no,
But it's funny. It is funny how.
because you get like SAP,
Yeah.
sells their software on AWS, and I could look it up, but they're likely, if not the largest, but one of the biggest.
Oh, I think they. Yeah, I think
big-
it's
I mean, they're amongst the largest, like
for
AWS.
enterprise software.
Correct,
Oh,
yeah.
and AWS users. You're saying.
Yeah, they resell. So the point is, like, if you're pitching to Walmart, good luck if your platform's running on AWS, right?
That's really interesting. It'd be interesting if we could check right now. If anyone knows, is Walmart using the Oracle WMS ERP, or are they on SAP?
Yeah, I
Because if that would,
now that I
think
bring
about
that up, I should have known before I did. But
I know, because it's an interesting
but that's
place
an
where
interesting.
if you're Walmart, you might be very nervous about that. Absolutely.
100%. So
Okay.
these are all things. The goal here is not to strike fear in our audience and the people that are making these decisions, but it's also something that you may not be instinctively paying attention to. But these are all considerations that also drive how even software editors are positioning themselves.
Well, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Hold on. What I know you're saying that I'd actually say it differently, Jean Martin. I think this is the kind of irrational fear
Yes, in a way.
that people would encounter.
Yeah.
Right? It's very funny, and kudos, magnificent Microsoft. You know, who of all the big tech companies, that's the one I have shares of. That I still think because they're so neutral. You know,
Well,
for all other businesses, we all think, well, they are the neutral. And then you could see how if we said, oh, it's hosted on AWS, you'd say, well, I'm not comfortable with that. You know, Google I think is a little bit neutral as well, but my stereotype, and this is why we're going to get into this right now. To me, Google is. I could see now you made the great argument of why there's so much cloud infrastructure that Google provides, but I still think of it as more of a YouTube like fun and not business thing.
Well,
so
yeah, I don't think that's incorrect in terms of general perception and also of, let's say, early adaptability.
let's just wait. Hold on. Let's just call a spade here.
Yeah.
Having worked with a ton of companies, all startup companies reject Microsoft Office products and adopt Google Sheets and Google Work document, and it's always sort of like, don't get mad at me. I'm sure there are many brilliant Google users who've built the most incredible Google Sheets in the world, but for the average user, it's generally what we call not quite. You know?
Or subpar, even. I'd go as far
Well,
as. I mean,
the
productivity
not quite is a more
platform-
polite way of saying subpar.
Sure, but I mean, let's call a spade, just like you said. I mean, ultimately, why an enterprise would consider Azure or the Microsoft product is it offers a lot of integration and a lot of security, and it leverages all of their productivity platforms,
Right.
and all of their other business solution that they put out there. Like Microsoft is one of the rare amongst these three to also offer enterprise software themselves.
Yes,
that
right.
they can actually come to the market and say, well, we leverage our own infrastructure.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got tons of solutions. We work internally with the Dynamics products.
100%.
And well,
No idea where files are anywhere, but I know that it's great. People love it.
But you see, that's where also the Microsoft components are strong and put a lot of things forward. But on neutrality, I think for our, what's interesting is for our audience and our market, you're 100% correct. But Microsoft is also a huge U.S. defense provider, which when you're telling that story to, it doesn't de facto resonate well everywhere. But
Right.
for the markets that are interesting to us.
Since we don't have much of a market in Russia, I think we're pretty safe from that one.
But
But now, let me ask you, okay, so now we're going, let's just, because, see, the clock is ticking.
I know.
What, go back to, so now I'm Automatic, I'm a really innovative,
Yes.
revolutionary, some might say, software product, and I've taken what Charles Fallon thinks is a very weird choice. I'm going on the Google Cloud Platform. So from that perspective, why? Tell us why that decision was made.
All right, so the story starts by us trying to build the platform on Azure because of Lid's relationship with Microsoft, because of our our already established knowledge of the tool. It was our initial work was done on it, and it started off well in our ability to leverage, for instance, the authentication. If you log into Automatic, we're using a single sign-on tool, which is the Microsoft Active Directory components. And you'll hear SSO a lot for single sign-on. So that's one.
I'm hearing that all the time.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course you are. But the point is, we got to a development cycle that that quickly ran into roadblocks in terms of documentation availability, in terms of, let's just say, more cutting edge distribution of resources, of leveraging a database components.
All right, slow down. Let's just do this one by one.
Yeah.
What do you mean documentation available?
I just mean, if you are a developer, right? And I'm not the developer. Like
No.
this is something I'm just.
Yes.
My development team reports to me, and
Oh, yeah, there's a head
I
there.
want
Yep.
that to justify why I'm making that decision. And a lot of that, I'm purely talking about if you give a task to a developer and you say go build that, the resources available to the developer are more rich in the AWS, and
What does that mean? What are
there's
the
just
resources?
more documentation. There's just more, like, you want to build a cluster, you want to deploy the Kubernetes container, or these are all things that developers do, and just like us, the developers are going to
They're going to Google, right? They're going to go look for things.
How the hell do I do
I
this?
see. Okay. Now I understand. And what's so interesting about that, I think it goes back to my contention that if you look at it, the whole Google Cloud was primarily, or in the first instance, developed for entertainment purposes, like people's pleasure and tools like that. And the reason I'm saying that is because think about video games and how video game technology, we don't give it enough credit for its own how it has pushed technology broadly, because our desire for entertainment is so strong, for fun, our fun-seeking nature actually pushes technology. I mean, if you think about 40, 50, 100,000 years, I don't know if you watch the History Channel, maybe we've had multiple advanced civilizations over 6 billion years or whatever silliness. But if you think about right now in this digital day and age, how our pursuit of pleasure can be such a massive driver of technological advancement. It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, I mean, I've got... ultimately, what I think about this is 300 years from now, that's the only thing humans are going to be used for, is entertaining each other in a way. That's the only thing that's going to be extremely hard to replace, but we'll see if that's a factor.
You know what? Then we will look like the rich Athenians of the ancient Greek world, sitting around the agora, philosophizing what is the purpose of life, and realizing we've accomplished nothing. So maybe nothing is the answer. But it is interesting because that's what your story just told me. I chose the Google Cloud platform because the resources available to solve so many data management problems and other things.
And development problems.
Right.
And to bring the technology forward the way we wanted, we hit limitations within Azure. And it's not, don't get me wrong, we would have likely been able to overcome them.
Of course. But speed to market,
that's it,
trumps everything.
And then it's likely that we could have done the same thing in AWS, but since we had the chance to start from scratch, the then commercial component comes into play. And then the commercial component, as a software development firm, there's two things to it: is how many markets are going to be open to you, and how much is it going to cost.
Yeah.
And then AWS is in a position where it's such a leader in the market right now that it doesn't have to, discount its services or offer any kind of special price.
Incentivize you to take them.
That's it.
Yeah.
So and then for us, we made the financially, and then in terms of not having roadblocks, Google being the most neutral of them all, it was just a natural fit because it enables us to position the automatic solution at a price point that is quite competitive.
It's attractive, but I think for all our friends in Walmart world out there, we want you to know you can buy Automatic, you can deploy Automatic, and it will never run on an AWS server.
Yes.
And I think that's the perfect way to end the show.
Yeah, okay.
Other people have great questions, but I think we've got a whole slew of topics to tackle.
And then we'll dig, because what are these technical components is something that we can actually dig into it. I keep repeating container and deployment, and
none of that makes sense. We have to get into that.
Yeah.
And like I said, there were a lot of questions on like the logic layer and how that's cluster. There's all sorts of great questions, but we just
but we've already established.
We've
hey,
exhausted.
there's 3 big players. You think about it in 3 different ways. Protection overall, then commercial components, and then ease of development. So these are the big little things. The big things that you need.
We're with you.
Yeah.
I think that was great. Thank you so much. I learned a lot.
No worries. I'm happy to share.
Adios, amigos.
Take care.